Valium is the most widely used prescription drug in the world. It has been called the aspirin of the emotionally upset. Valium can help relieve anxiety, can help you through a sleepless night, can relax tense muscles. Nearly 60 million prescriptions were written last year in the United States alone. That is 3 billion pills, dispensed just by drugstores, let alone hospitals and nursing homes. Americans spend over $500 million on Valium every year.
Valium is the happiness pill, don't you see? You take this Valium, you plop in your mouth, and I don't know whether it's physical or psychological, but as soon as you plop that Valium in, your head starts saying, well, in about 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to feel great.
Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le tien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le mien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le tien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le mien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le tien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le mien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le tien bat comme un fou. Le cœur de Bloody Jack ne bat qu'un coup sur 4, mais sous ses baisers doux, le mien bat comme un fou.
It used to be Milltown. Now it's Valium that has entered the language, that's become a part of our culture.
I'm too tense. I need a Valium. My analyst says I should live in the country and not in New York.
Well, I can't live. We can't have this discussion all the time. The country makes me nervous. You got crickets and it's quiet. There's no place to walk after dinner, and there's the screens with the dead moths behind them, and you got the Manson family possibly, and you got Dick and Perry.
Okay. My analyst just thinks I'm too tense. Where's the damn Valium?
That was a scene from Woody Allen's latest film, Annie Hall. Playwright Neil Simon found that he needed Valium in his Prisoner of Second Avenue.
Oh, God.
Why'd you take a Valium?
I took one.
Take another one.
I took another one. They don't work anymore.
2 Valiums, they have to work.
And what did Joan Gans Cooney, the creator of Sesame Street, tell People magazine about her always-ready survival kit? That it contains toothpaste, multiple vitamins, and a prescribed bottle of Valium. Though Valium is a safe drug, as with all drugs, it has side effects, as this woman discovered when she tried to break the Valium habit.
I go 2 days without it, and then I get the shakes and the tremors, the inner tremors, and my body just goes out of control, and I get to crying, and I'm very depressed, and I feel like I'm going to die at times. I don't feel that I'm going to make it through another breath. I'm not knocking the drug. The drug is fantastic for people that want to feel great all the time. But then, when you try to go off of them, the great feeling's gone.
Well, why would you want to go off of them?
Because I'm afraid of what the drug may do to my body in years to come.
Denver General Hospital, home of something called the Rocky Mountain Poison Center. Last year, over 10,000 people turned up here after exposure to some form of drug poison. Of that number, almost 1,000 had some problem with Valium.
Rocky Mountain Poison Center. Did she take any other medications besides the Valium? Rocky Mountain Poison Center. How many Valium did you take? Enough. Who gave you the Valium? Friends? What I want you to do is, while you're up, I want you to take a lot of fluid.
I don't want a lot of fluid. I want to die. I don't understand.
Director of the Rocky Mountain Poison Center here is Dr. Barry Rumack. How do you account for the tremendous amount of Valium use? We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth every year in the United States.
It's a very effective drug doing what it does. It is good, but it has problems.
You talk about women mostly being the Valium addict. You're serious? It is mostly women.
By a large majority, women. Their husbands, if we take the typical one, their husband is at the peak of his career, and their career's over.
The woman's
That's what we see, the empty nest. Certainly there are men who are addicted. Certainly there are men who take Valium for all kinds of problems, but not nearly the number that surface of women.
It's not something most women want to advertise, but out of desperation, this woman wrote to Dr. Rumack, whom she had never met. She had read about his poison center in the newspaper. Dr. Rumack, we talked to a woman who had written to you about her problem with Valium. She describes withdrawal symptoms, which is why she doesn't want to go off.
I have chest pain and I start going into a cold sweat, and then I get the inner tremors first. The inner tremors come first, then the outer tremors, then your whole body goes haywire. Your knees knock, your arms shake. It's almost like an epileptic fit.
It may be just like an epileptic fit. It's a convulsion if she goes that far. It's extremely uncomfortable. It's an overdrive of the whole body, if you want to look at it like that.
How did Valium get to be so important to so many people? Because this company, Hoffman LaRoche of Nutley, New Jersey, which is called the Rolls-Royce of the drug companies, even by its critics, was in the right place at the right time with the right drug for the age of anxiety. Roche has spent a staggering $50 to $75 million to advertise Valium. It is advertising you have probably never seen. It never appeared on television or in your newspaper. It has been directed solely at doctors and only in medical journals. Valium for tension, Valium for anxiety, Valium for muscle spasm, Valium for being a mother or a father, Valium for the everyday emotions of being alive. Robert Clark is the president of Roche Laboratories. Dr. Bruce Med is their in-house medical expert. We asked him whether he knew a Dr. Fritz Frian. Reliable fellow, as far as you know?
A knowledgeable person in psychiatry.
A knowledgeable person in psychiatry. Senator Gaylord Nelson asked him, if you were the editor of a medical journal, would you accept an ad like that? He's talking about a Valium ad. And Dr. Frian says, I would not. As a matter of fact, I am editor-in-chief of a psychiatric journal, and my contract provides that I can accept or reject specific commercial advertisements. I think that this ad is typical for a long series of advertisements on Librium and Valium by Roche Laboratories. He would not accept the ad.
Well, I would say we probably don't advertise in his journal, but apparently from the advertisements that you've shown, there are others that feel differently.
It's always in the boilerplate, in the fine print over on the third page, that you get the warnings.
No, I don't think it's always in the boilerplate, Mr. Wallace. For example, here, I can show you one here. This is a mailing piece that's going to doctors. What does it say? For this patient, no. For this patient, yes.
Then you open it up and it says yes, because Valium can do a lot for the patient with anxiety and secondary depressive symptoms, and then it goes on.
Well, it goes on.
Without
warnings. On to
warnings.
talk about the condition in which Valium is useful. Yes. The warnings you will find back here.
Among those warnings, don't mix Valium with alcohol. One of the drugs that showed up in Karen Ann Quinlan's blood, along with alcohol, when she was first brought into the hospital unconscious, was Valium. There's little disagreement that Valium and alcohol can be a lethal cocktail. Among the drugs under investigation in the Howard Hughes case, drugs that Hughes apparently used in large quantities were BBs, meaning blue bombers, for 10 milligram Valium. Valium has been called the opiate of the middle class, but we also found it has become a favorite drug of abuse for street addicts, for heroin junkies. Why? Because Valium is relatively inexpensive, certainly cheaper than heroin. It is very available, and apparently it adds a special kick when used with methadone. Methadone that is being used to kick the heroin habit. We found several streetwise Valium users at a drug abuse clinic in Chicago. One of them agreed to tell us how easy it is to get if we agreed not to disclose his identity. You would fill out the prescription form yourself?
Sure, I'd take a pair of them.
You'd put in your name?
Yeah, just,
All right, John Jones for the purposes of this.
All right.
John Doe, all right?
All right, a date. Okay, then you're getting Valium. 10 milligrams. Usually, without too much hassle, you can get anywhere from 30 to 90. So for this purpose, we'll say 45. And then the DEA number you put in, write in for yourself here. Any number.
Wait a minute. The DEA number, that's the Drug Enforcement Administration number?
Yes.
That's a very professional looking, almost illegible
Right.
looking prescription. Now, how do you pay for them? You pay cash?
Well, for that particular kind, you have to pay cash, yes. If you don't want to pay for it, then the prescription's got to be filled out on a public aid prescription.
How were you able to get this Illinois Department of Public Aid prescription or order or pharmacist statement?
Believe it or not, those are even much easier to get than the regular prescriptions. They leave those laying around doctors' offices all over the place.
John Doe would forge that welfare form and with his Medicaid card get his supply of Valium free. You've done this?
Oh, yes, many, many times.
A lot.
Quite a lot.
Thousands of Valiums over a period of years, would you imagine?
Oh, yeah, tens of thousands.
Now, all paid for by welfare, and all, in effect, on phony prescription forms filled out by yourself.
Right.
Dr. Craig Showalter, the doctor in charge at the clinic. Those young men telling the truth, Doctor?
Yes, they were. They're pretty typical of many of the patients that we have here.
It's that easy to get.
It's that easy to get.
It can be sold for profit on the street.
Yes.
All right. Where are they? We were suddenly interrupted by an emergency just outside Dr. Showalter's office.
How you feeling? Okay. We need ambulance. No, but I want her to get me some IV Valium out of the nursing station.
What you're witnessing is the same John Doe we interviewed just minutes ago having a seizure, not unlike an epileptic fit, apparently brought on by an abrupt withdrawal from Valium.
How long since you've taken Valium, would you say?
This is a typical seizure, typical Valium seizure?
Typical.
And he doesn't seem to be able to focus really even on your questions, Dr. Showalter.
No, he can't.
What are you feeling? You feel confusion?
Yeah.
The truth is you must have been taking Valium a little bit.
Yeah.
That you didn't want to talk about.
When was the last time you took it?
3 days ago.
That's also typical, that the seizures withdrawal from Valium comes later, maybe 5 or 6 days later.
Oh, boy. You were sitting here waiting, and then suddenly, bang, and you were on the floor.
What?
You've forgotten about it already?
Yeah, when did this happen?
Just within the last 5 minutes, right, Doctor?
Yeah.
What?
You had a seizure.
Just now?
Just now.
Get out.
You did. You were on the floor. And shaking as though, right, Doctor?
Mm-hmm.
You're kidding.
No.
It is not possible to go cold turkey with Valium without those symptoms that we've seen that look like almost like an epileptic fit.
It's very, very dangerous to go cold turkey. And I think some physicians have had patients go cold turkey, although they haven't realized it. So no more Valium for you.
And the doctors don't know.
Most doctors have no idea. They call us when they get into trouble.
Everywhere I go, I'm handed Valiums. When I say I'm nervous, all you gotta do is say nervous. The doctors immediately associate the nervousness with the Valium. Out comes the Valium.
Classic, just classic. This is what we see all the time. If they're at all, there are hundreds of doctors in any city, and all I have to do is find the ones that are quite happy to take the $10 or $15 for the visit and write them a prescription.
But I do have a doctor who I've known for 15 years that refuses to give it to me.
So where does Phyllis get them if her doctor won't give them to her?
I find other sources, such as a pharmacist, that I will pay 5 or 10 cents more per tablet, and he will give them to me without a prescription.
What Phyllis's friendly pharmacist is doing, of course, is illegal. Though Valium is a prescription drug, and though Valium is now a controlled substance, listed as a potentially dangerous drug by the federal government, we stopped counting the number of people who told us how easy it is to get. We set out to see for ourselves. 60 Minutes producer Marion Golden contacted 3 doctors in Denver, Colorado. She told each of them the same story. She was in town visiting, had left her Valium and her Valium prescription back in Washington, D.C. The first doctor she contacted, recommended by the hotel at which she was staying, offered her a prescription for 100 Valium pills.
Excuse me.
When she asked him, "Don't I have to see you?" he replied, "Oh, no, just pick it up at the pharmacy downstairs," which is what she did. Doctor number 2 did want to see her for 2.5 minutes. She walked out of his office with a prescription for 50 more Valiums after paying the doctor $10 for that 2.5 minutes. From doctor number 3, producer Golden got still another prescription for 100 Valiums. That visit took a little longer, 7 minutes. And while the doctor expressed his concern that he didn't know her and that there were people who came to him who were addicts or narcotics agents, nonetheless, he wrote the prescription just the same. At no time did either of the 2 doctors who actually saw Miss Golden do anything more than take her blood pressure. There was no further physical exam, no blood test, no urinalysis, nor did they suggest calling her Washington doctor to verify her story. As far as we can tell, none of them did anything illegal, although doctor number 1, who prescribed Valium without ever having seen the patient, may be guilty of unprofessional conduct.
I think you're overemphasizing the minority and not playing on the majority. The majority of physicians prescribe the drug appropriately. The majority of pharmacists fill prescriptions appropriately. I would say the majority of patients take the drug appropriately.
And I think that we will undoubtedly point that out.
I would hope so.
It's a very, very safe, very, very effective drug, useful in a wide variety of conditions of which anxiety happens to be a part.
Dr. Rumack, there are, I don't know, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people looking in at this moment who take Valium. Maybe they take it to help them get to sleep every now and then, or maybe they use it now and then to help them deal with a tense situation. Should they worry?
They should worry if they're taking a lot of Valium and they've taken it for a long time.
A lot of Valium is?
More than 30 milligrams a day.
You mean that you can take 30 milligrams a day in and day out for years and not worry?
No, I wouldn't say that, but if you're going to be addicted, it probably is going to take more than 30 milligrams.
I'm a pretty religious person, and I have a lot of faith in God. But God comes first in my life, and then my family, and then that bottle of Valium.
We repeat, used sensibly under supervision, Valium can be a remarkably effective drug. If you do use it, make sure your doctor knows how much and how often.